Okay, so now let's talk about some security options, specifically role-based access control and locks. Now, to simplify this, I've created a resource group called virtual machines, and we're going to look at setting some protection on this virtual machines resource group. So, list of resources here. I'm going to start with my resource group, and I'm going to click on that, and that's going to take me to my virtual machines resource group. Okay, now, when we're looking at role-based access control, role-based access control is kind of like using groups in Active Directory to control what people can and cannot do. We add people to a group that gives them those security permissions. Well, this works the same way, except we call them roles. So I'm going to come here to my access control, IAM, and I'm going to click on my IAM access control. And I have my check access where I can verify my access. I have role assignments, roles, deny assignments, and then classic administrators. I can also download role assignments here. And if I do this, it's going to download and I can look at inherited and at the current scope and children if I want, and what format do I want, and what file name do I want. And that'll let me download those so I can review them. For the moment, though, I want to do this. I'm going to click on role assignments. And I have basically two of them. So myself, I created it, so I'm the owner. And this is an inherited role. Okay, let's say I wanted to add access to this particular resource group to somebody else so that they can work with it. So for that, I am going to add a role assignment. And then I can do an existing role assignment, add an existing role, or I can add a custom role. And if I do a custom role, and I just want to show you this real quick. If I want to do a custom role, I can create a custom role name. I can clone an existing one. I can start from JSON. I can build it from scratch. And then I'm going to have the permissions that I want, add and exclude permissions, and then assignable scopes, and then it'll show me the JSON manifest of it, and then I can review and create. All right, I don't want to do a custom role, so I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to assign an existing one. And I've got a lot of existing roles that I can assign here. And down here, you can see this whole big long list. Okay, I can filter this. So I can go to my type and I can filter this and look at all built-in or custom roles. And everything I have right here is built-in because I haven't put any custom ones in. But if I'd created my own custom roles, that makes it easy to just say, hey, show me my custom roles. And go back to all. And then I can set my category. What do I want? And this is going to categorize all of my roles. And when I create a role, I put it in a category, and that way I can kind of filter down. So this is going to be my virtual machines one. So I want to filter this down to compute roles. So that just gives me 4 of them here. Classic virtual machine contributor, and this says what they can do. A virtual machine administrator login, virtual machine contributor. I love this. Lets you manage virtual machines, but not access them, and not the virtual network or the storage account they're connected to. And then the virtual machine user login. So let's say I wanted to allow a couple of people to log into virtual machines that I'm going to create here. Well, then I would give them the virtual machine user login role. So I'm going to select that, and this is, let me show you one other thing here. So I've got my job function roles, and then I have privileged administrator roles. And let me set this to all. And so this gives me what my admin roles are, right? So I can have somebody be a contributor, which grants them full access to manage all resources. I can make them an owner, which includes the full access, but also gives them the ability to set that roles-based access control. So I can go either way. Okay, so let me go back to my job function roles, and actually I think I added the role here. Yes, virtual machine user login. And then I can assign this to a user group or service principal or a managed identity. So I want to do this to a user group or service principal. So I'm going to add, and then this is going to show me all of my groups and individual users. So I want to add this to my Troublemakers group, which is going to include Fred and George Weasley. So I can click on Troublemakers and select. or I can add a specific user. Let me go ahead and add Lucius Malfoy just for the fun of it and select. Now, from a practical standpoint, it's probably going to be easier to do this based on groups. Then I can add somebody to the group and they'll get all of the roles across whatever, but that's going to kind of depend. It's a little more of a flat structure in Azure than the hierarchical structure of Active Directory, so might not be quite as big of a deal for you in the long run. You can set a description. This is what we want. Here's how I can remove it. So let me go ahead and remove Lucius Malfoy. Then I can set, a description, and then I'm going to go to review and assign, and I'm going to make sure, yep, this is everything that I want. So let us assign, and that's going to add our role assignment. And so now this pops up, and I have virtual machine user login for the Troublemakers group. Okay, so that's great. That's how I can assign roles to specific resource groups. Now, roles can be assigned to your root management group, to your subscription, to your resource group, or to individual resources. So hopefully that makes sense. That'll be a little helpful when it comes to limiting what people can and cannot do. So there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was the idea of locks. So locks can actually supersede roles. So I can choose to lock a specific resource or a specific resource group. So I'm going to find that here under settings. We're going to come down to locks. I'm going to add a lock, and I'm going to say block delete. Okay, I have two different types of locks. A read-only lock is pretty straightforward. It means they can read only. A delete lock means you can, we will only block deletes, right? People can come in, they can make changes, they can look at, they can play with, they just can't delete. So I click OK, and that puts this delete lock in place. And now nobody, and that means nobody, including me, can delete this resource group until I remove this lock. Now I have the ability to remove that lock, right? I can come over here, edit the lock, delete the lock. But that protects that resource or that resource group. So that can be a very useful tool. Let's say you have a resource group, bunch of auditing that you did. Now you want to lock that and make it read only. Then you don't have to go in and change a bunch of permissions, right? You just make that read only, and then nobody can mess with anything. They can read it, but that's it. So locks can become a very useful tool for protecting your resources as well.